Welcome to the Deep Dive. You're here because, like us, you want to understand the big forces shaping things. And today, well, it's a really big one. Social media and its impact on teenagers.
Yeah, it's everywhere in their lives, isn't it?
Totally. And I bet you've got questions about what it all really means.
We've been looking at a really comprehensive source text. It gives a great overview, stats, how teens use these platforms, the good, the bad.
And our goal here, our mission for this deep dive, is to pull out the key insights from that, get beyond the headlines.
Exactly. Not just the simple answers. We want to understand the nuances, give you a well-rounded perspective. This isn't about scaremongering.
Right. It's about insight.
No.
Okay, so let's start right there. When we say social media for teens, what are we actually defining?
Well, the source defines it pretty clearly. It's basically internet sites and apps, right? Places where you can share stuff, you can create pictures, text, whatever, and react to what others post.
So likes, comments, sharing links, that kind of interaction.
Exactly. That back and forth is key. It's how they connect.
And it's definitely not just a passing phase for teens, is it? It feels, fundamental to their lives now.
Oh, absolutely. It's a primary channel for staying in touch with friends, and it's a big space where they figure out who they are, build their identities.
Mm-hmm.
Our source actually points to a specific statistic from a 2022 survey, I believe.
Oh, yeah. Numbers help paint the picture. What did it find?
It looked at 13 to 17-year-olds. And get this, 35% of them use at least one of the big five platforms: YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, more than several times a day.
Wow. More than several times, that frequency.
Yeah.
It really highlights how integrated it is.
It really does. Just constantly there.
But importantly, the source also stresses that it doesn't hit every teenager the same way. It's not like a universal effect.
Exactly right. That's maybe the most crucial point. The impact is really individual. It depends.
Depends on what? What are the big factors the source mentions?
Well, first, what they're actually seeing and doing online. The content matters. Then, the amount of time they spend is a factor. But also psychological things like their maturity level, any pre-existing mental health stuff, and then their wider life situation, cultural background, social stuff, economic factors. It all plays a part.
That makes sense. It's complex, isn't it? A lot of moving parts.
Definitely.
So let's look at the positive side first. The source does talk about healthy uses, right?
Yes, absolutely. It highlights how social media can actually help teens create their online identities and build supportive networks, which can be incredibly valuable for some kids.
Like who, for instance?
Yeah.
Who benefits most?
Well, teens who might feel lonely or lack that strong support offline, or kids going through really stressful times.
Mm-hmm.
And also teens from marginalized groups, maybe racial minorities, LGBTQ teens, kids with disabilities, even those with long-term medical conditions, they can find communities online.
So finding people who really get it when maybe they don't find that nearby.
Precisely. That validation, that shared experience, it can be huge for figuring out who you are, which is, a massive part of being a teenager.
Yeah, definitely. Can you give some, concrete examples of how that looks? Positive uses?
Sure. The source mentions things like just expressing themselves creatively, staying connected with friends, whether they're local or far away.
Okay.
Learning coping skills by seeing how others handle things. There are even, moderated forums about mental health they mention.
Oh, interesting. So actual support spaces.
Yeah, and sometimes it's even a way teens might seek help for symptoms they're experiencing. And, sometimes it's just seeing funny videos or distractions can genuinely help them cope with a rough day.
Good point. It's not all heavy stuff. Sometimes it's just a break.
Exactly.
Okay, but we do need to talk about the other side, the potential downsides. What unhealthy effects does the source flag?
Yeah, there's definitely a list. Distraction is a big one. Pulling them away from homework, exercise, family time, that sort of thing.
Right. And sleep. I hear that a lot.
Sleep disruption, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Also exposure to biased or just plain wrong information. And unfortunately, it could be a place for spreading rumors or, oversharing personal stuff.
And the comparisons, constantly seeing these perfect-looking lives online, that must have an effect.
Oh, for sure. The text mentions unrealistic views of other people's lives, your bodies. Big issue. And then there are the more serious risks.
Right.
Exposure to predators online, cyberbullying, which the source explicitly links to higher risks of anxiety and depression.
That's worrying.
And even exposure to content about risky behaviors, negative interactions, which rarely has been linked to self-harm or even, tragically, death.
Those are really serious points. The source also mentioned time spent, right? What did the research say about that?
It does cite a couple of studies. There was a U.S. study, 2013-2014, that found a link. Over 3 hours a day on social media seemed correlated with higher mental health risks for 12 to 15-year-olds.
3 hours, okay.
And a UK study suggested that using it more than 3 times a day predicted poorer mental health in 13 to 16-year-olds.
But it also said the research isn't totally conclusive on time alone.
That's a key clarification, yes.
Yeah.
Not all research finds that direct link just based on hours logged. The source really emphasizes that how teens use social media could be even more important than just the duration.
Right, the quality of the time, not just the quantity. So what kind of content is particularly risky then?
Well, the text points to stuff like showing illegal acts, content about self-harm or hurting others, things encouraging eating disorder behaviors.
Yeah, that's dangerous territory.
Very, especially for vulnerable teens. And then just being exposed to discrimination, hate speech, cyberbullying, that really ups the risk for anxiety and depression.
And it's not just consuming content, it's also what they share, right? You mentioned stress posting earlier.
Yes, exactly. The teenage brain, it's still developing, right? More impulsive. So stress posting is when they might share something intense anger, sadness in the moment online.
And regret it later. Big time.
Big time. Yeah. Especially, the text warns, if they share things like sexual photos or really, really personal stories, that can lead to bullying, harassment, even blackmail.
Ugh. That's scary to think about, the permanence of it. So the source gives advice framed for parents, but probably useful for anyone, right?
Absolutely. The principles are pretty broadly applicable, I think, even for reflecting on our own habits.
Right.
It's mostly about encouraging responsible use.
Okay, so what are some key tips?
Well, setting rules and limits is basic. Maybe linking screen time to getting homework done, setting daily time caps, having phone-free times, like during meals or before bed.
Makes sense. What else?
Parental role modeling is huge. Practice what you preach with your own phone use.
Good point. Kids notice everything.
They do.
Yeah.
Also, communicating openly about tricky situations online. Maybe connecting with other parents. Checking browser history if you feel it's needed carefully.
Yeah.
And definitely using privacy settings on all accounts.
Privacy settings, yeah, that seems crucial.
And for younger teens, the source suggests monitoring their accounts, maybe easing up as they get older and show more responsibility.
And just talking about it regularly sounds key, too.
Oh, definitely. Just asking them, how does this app make you feel? Encourage them to share if they see something worrying. Talk about how to tell if information is real or if someone's portrayal is, maybe not realistic.
Yeah, media literacy, basically.
Exactly. And explaining what's not okay, online gossip, rumors, bullying, sharing personal info with strangers. And trying to encourage face-to-face time, especially if a teen tends towards social anxiety.
These are really practical things people can do. And what about recognizing when professional help might be needed?
Right. The source advises seeking help if you see signs of anxiety or depression, potentially linked to social media use.
Yeah.
Or if there are warning signs like they can't seem to stop using it even if they want to. Or if it's clearly hurting school, sleep, activities, relationships, if they're spending way more time than they meant to, or, lying about how much they're using it. Those are signs to maybe talk to a doctor or mental health professional.
Got it. This has been incredibly helpful, really breaking down the complexities. So to wrap up, what are the main things you want listeners to take away?
I think the biggest thing is just complexity. Social media's impact isn't simple. It's not all good, not all bad. There are real benefits, connections, support, but also real risks from content, time, how they interact.
So the key is mindful, responsible use.
Exactly. Mindful engagement.
And understanding these nuances helps everyone, parents, teachers, anyone interested, approach this whole thing with more insight, right? Not just jump to conclusions.
Perfectly put. Which kind of leads to a final thought, something for you, the listener, to maybe chew on. Given how fast social media keeps changing and how deeply woven it is into teenage life, what might the long-term effects look like on mental health, on society, and maybe more importantly, what can we do proactively to navigate this evolving landscape responsibly?
That's a really important question to keep asking. Thank you.